The Story of Civilization, Part 2, The Life of Greece, being a history of Greek civilization from the beginnings and of civilization in the Near East, from the death of Alexander to the Roman conquest, with an introduction on the prehistoric culture of Crete by Durant. Chapter 6, The Great Migration, Part 3, The Dorian Overflow. The Dorians, too, colonized the Cyclades and tamed their warlike spirits to terrace the mountain slopes patiently, that the parsimonious rain might be held and coaxed to nourish their crops and vines. In Melos, they took over from their Bronze Age predecessors the quarrying of obsidian, and made the island so prosperous that the Athenians, as we shall see, spared no pains to Melos to win its support in the struggle with Sparta. Here in 1820 of the Common Era was found that the Aphrodite of Melos, which is now the most famous statue in the Western world, or as we know it from the Roman name of the goddess and the Italian name of the island, the Venus de Milo. Moving east and then south, the Dorians conquered Thera and Crete, and moving from Thera, sent a further colony to Kyrene. A few of them settled in Cyprus, where, from the 11th century BCE, a small colony of Arcadian Greeks had struggled for mastery against the old Phoenician dynasties. It was one of these Phoenician kinglets, Pygmalion, of whom legend told how he so admired an ivory Aphrodite carved by his hands that he fell in love with it, begged the goddess to give it life, and married his creation when the goddess complied. The coming of iron probably lessened the demand for Cyprian copper and left the island off the mainland of Greek economic advance. The cutting of the timber by the natives to burn the copper ore by the Phoenicians for ships and by the Greeks for agricultural clearings slowly transformed Cyprus into the hot and half-barren derelict that it is today. The art of the island, like its population, was in the Greek period a medley of Egyptian, Phoenician, and Hellenic influences, and never attained a homogeneous character of its own. Case 13 of the Tesnala collection of Cyprian antiquities in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York, a bilingual tablet unearthed by British scholars in 1868 enabled them to decipher Cypriot writing as a dialect of Greek expressed by syllabic signs, but the results have not added anything of interest to universal history. And if there are any updates on any of these things, of course, comment. The Dorians were but a minority of the Greek population in Cyprus, but in Rhodes and the southern Sporades and on the adjoining mainland, they became the ruling class. Rhodes prospered in the centuries between Homer and Marathon, though its zenith would not come to the Hellenistic age. On a promontory jutting out from Asia, Dorian settlers developed the city of Cnidus, well situated to be a part of the coastal trade. Here the astronomer Eudoxus would be born, and the historian or fabulist Ctesias, and that Sostratus, who was to build at Pharos, at Alexandria. Here, among the ruins of ancient temples, would be found the sad and matronly Demeter of the British Museum. Opposite Cnidus lay the island of Kos, home of Hippocrates and the rival of Cnidus as the center of Greek medical science. Apelles, the painter, would be born here, and Theocritus, the poet. A little to the north, on the coast, was Halicarnassus, birthplace of Herodotus, and royal seat in Hellenistic days of the Carian king Mausolus and his fond Artemisia. The city with Kos and Cnidus, and the chief towns of Rhodes, Lindus, Camirus, and Ialasus formed the Dorian Hexapolis, or 6 cities of Asia Minor, weak rivals for a time of the 12 cities of Ionia. And our next program is going to be a bit bigger. There's a lot of talk about graven images. Graven images sort of distorting one's experience. And of course brings away possession. So the statue could have been possessed by entities.